Paris of love. Maria was 20 years old and lived in a small but chic apartment in the heart of Paris. Her life was simple but full of dreams. He worked as a barista in an elegant café on Rue de Rivoli and spent his evenings reading romance novels or painting Parisian sunsets from his small balcony. Paris, with its bright lights and romantic atmosphere, fueled her hopes of a fairy tale love. One late summer evening, Maria met Alexandre. He was an attractive man with piercing eyes and a charming smile that seemed to hide a whole story. Their meeting happened in an unexpected way. Maria was running to catch the subway, and in her haste, she bumped into Alexandre. Her books and bag fell to the floor, and he, with rare grace, bent to pick them up. "Sorry, I didn't mean to be so clumsy," said Maria, embarrassed. "Don't worry. Paris has a habit of quickening the steps of those who live here," Alexandre replied with a warm smile. From that day, their lives changed. Alexandre invited Maria to coffee, and their conversations quickly turned into regular meetings. He was a successful lawyer with a promising career, but he seemed to find solace in Maria's simplicity and sincerity. Butterflies in the stomach. Maria felt that she had known Alexandre for a lifetime. Their meetings were full of magic, and the conversations seemed to never end. Alexandre had a special charm. He was intelligent, charismatic, and knew how to turn ordinary moments into memorable ones. A walk on the banks of the Seine became an adventure, and a simple dinner at a small bistro an occasion for laughter and shared stories. However, Maria sometimes noticed a shadow of melancholy in his eyes. It looked like he was hiding something, but she didn't press it. It was enough for her that in his presence she felt safe and loved. Alexandre often looked at her with an intensity that made her blush, and his compliments seemed to come from a deep place. One evening, after they had spent several hours walking in the Tuileries Gardens, Alexandre took her hand in his and said, "Maria, I met you in the most unexpected way, and since then, I feel that my life has changed. I wish I could get to know you better, show you more of my world." Maria, surprised, smiled shyly. "I feel the same way. I never thought that a chance meeting could lead to something so beautiful." That night, Maria returned home with a feeling of happiness that overwhelmed her. She was beginning to fall in love with Alexandre, and he seemed to feel the same. Decision time seemed to fly. After a few months, Alexandre proposed something unexpected. "Maria, how about coming with me to Switzerland? I have an important project there, and I'd like you to join me." Maria was taken by surprise. Paris was her home, but love for Alexandre had blossomed in her soul. After a few days of thinking, he answered, "I'm ready to try, Alexandre, but know that I'm afraid." "You don't have to," he told her with a smile. "I promise we'll be fine." Maria said goodbye to her life in Paris, packing her dreams along with her clothes and memories. She left for Geneva, confident that their love would withstand any challenge. The trials of love, life in Geneva, was different. Maria had discovered a clean, orderly city, but it seemed to lack the vibrant charm of Paris. Alexandre always seemed busy, caught up in complicated projects, and Maria was trying to adjust to her new life. She had found a job in a small craft boutique, but the daily routine made her feel lonely. One evening at dinner, she tried to talk to Alexandre about how she felt. "I feel like we got lost on the way." He sighed, looking distracted. "Maria, I'm just going through a difficult time at work. You have to understand that I do this for us, too." Maria remained silent, but she could not ignore the gap that was beginning to grow between them. The shadows of possessiveness over time. Alexandre became increasingly possessive. His questions about Maria's birthday, about her colleagues, and about the messages on the phone had become a constant. "Who did you talk to today? Why were you smiling on the phone?" he often asked. Maria tried to explain that she had nothing to hide, but Alexandre did not seem convinced. Although she loved him, she was starting to feel suffocated. One evening after a heated argument, Maria went out on the balcony of their apartment and looked at the city lights. He wanted things to be the way they were before, but he knew something had broken between them. Time passed, and their relationship became more and more strained. Alexandra seemed more concerned with career and money, and Maria felt more and more alone. She spent her evenings reading or looking out the window, wondering where the man she had fallen in love with had gone. Their intimate relationship had become another point of tension. Alexandra seemed to see sex as a duty, while Maria felt that the lack of real affection between them ruined any physical closeness. "Why don't you want me like before?" he often asked her, not realizing that the problem was deeper than physical attraction. Maria was trying her best to save the relationship. He was giving Alexandra chances, but nothing seemed to change. One day, she overheard him talking to his friends about her in a way that hurt her deeply. "Maria, she's a good girl, but sometimes I wonder if it was the best choice," he told one of his friends. Those words were like a knife to the heart. Maria felt betrayed, but despite the pain, she still loved him. Return of Alexandra. After a week of silence, Alexandra tried to contact Maria. He called her, texted her, but she was determined to break away from him. Finally, he came to the apartment where he was temporarily living and asked her to open the door for him. "Maria, please, listen to me." "I know I was wrong, but I can't lose you. I can't live without you." Maria looked at him with tearful eyes. She still loved him, but she didn't know if love could overcome the wounds he had caused. "Alexandra, how many times have I given you a chance? And how many times have you promised to change but haven't?" Alexandra seemed sincere, but Maria knew that their love could not survive on promises alone. The inevitable break, Maria was sitting in her bedroom, looking at her reflection in the large mirror on the wall. For months, she had tried to make excuses for Alexandra's behavior, hoping that their love could overcome any obstacle. However, fear and insecurity had become a part of her daily life. That evening, Alexandra had returned early from work, but in a dark mood. Maria asked him how his day was, but he answered dryly, without giving her many details. Instead of continuing the conversation, he sat down on the sofa and started scrolling through his phone. Maria felt a heavy pressure on her chest. He could no longer bear the silence between them. She approached him and, in a trembling voice, said, "Alexandra, we can't go on like this. Our relationship is not what it used to be." He looked up, disturbed by her tone. "What do you mean?" "You're just exaggerating again. You are too sensitive, Maria." "I'm not sensitive." "I tried my best to show you how much I love you, but you treat me like a burden." Their arguments had become more frequent, but this discussion seemed different. It was the last straw. Maria felt that she no longer had the energy to fight for a relationship in which only she seemed to be making an effort. That night, after Alexandra went to bed, Maria packed her bag. "Don't take much, just a few clothes and personal items." On the kitchen table, he left a letter explaining his reasons for leaving. "Alexandra, I love you, but I can't live like this anymore. Our relationship is destroying me. If you really love me, you will understand why I chose to leave. Mary." He left before the sun rose, leaving behind all the memories, good and bad, that had bound her to him. The attempt at reconciliation. 2 weeks had passed since the breakup, and Maria was trying to rebuild her life. She had moved into a small apartment in Geneva and started working again at the craft boutique. Every morning, he found the strength to get out of bed, but his heart was still heavy with pain. One rainy evening, someone knocked on the door. When she opened it, Alexandra was standing in front of her, wet to the skin, his eyes red from crying. "Maria, please! I can't live without you. I was wrong, I know that, but I want to fix everything." Maria looked at him with a confused expression. She was still hurt by everything that had happened between them. "Alexandra, it's not that simple. You can't come here and pretend that everything can be forgotten." He entered the apartment, ignoring her resistance. "I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm willing to do anything. We will go to therapy. We will try everything we have to. Just don't leave me, Maria." Maria felt a wave of emotions overwhelm her. She still loved him, but she knew that a reconciliation without real change would mean returning to the pain of the past. After a moment of silence, he answered, "If I give you another chance, I want to see changes. I don't want empty promises." O fragile new beginning. Maria and Alexandra started again, but this time with clear rules. They decided to go to couples therapy together, where each of them had a chance to express their feelings without fear of being judged. The first sessions were difficult. Alexandra had to learn to control his jealousy and possessiveness, and Maria had to regain her trust in him. The psychologist gave them communication exercises and asked them to be honest with each other. At the same time, Maria was trying to rediscover her passions. She had started drawing again, and a local gallery had offered to exhibit some of her work. When she told Alexandre about it, he seemed genuinely happy. "I'm proud of you, Maria. I want to be there to support you." Although their relationship was beginning to improve, Maria could not ignore the small signs of doubt that still haunted her. He knew that real change required time and will. One evening, while they were looking at the stars from the balcony of the apartment, Alexandra took Maria's hand and said, "I don't know if I'll ever be perfect, but I'll do my best to make you happy." Maria smiled at him, but deep down she knew their story was still being written. Some lines were filled with love and others with suffering. All she wanted was for the next few chapters to be about healing and trust. The story remains open, with an uncertain ending, but with the hope that love can win if it is supported by real change and sacrifice. Alexandra's toxicity towards Maria was subtle at first, but became more and more obvious as their relationship progressed. Although he seemed charming and loving, his jealousy and possessiveness began to control every aspect of Maria's life. He always asked her to explain where she was, who she was talking to, and what she was doing, and any answer that didn't suit him would lead to tension or arguments. Alexandre often used love as an excuse for his behavior, saying he was afraid of losing her, but this fear translated into constant control and an invalidation of her independence. He also minimized Maria's feelings, making her feel guilty or overly sensitive whenever she expressed her grievances. Instead of being a support to her, Alexandra became the main source of her insecurities, fueling a vicious cycle of love, conflict, and emotional suffering. However, Maria continued to hope for a change, caught between her love for him and the need to regain her freedom and self-respect. The story of Maria and Alexandre does not end here, but remains open with a narrative thread full of uncertainties and possibilities. Although their relationship has been marked by love, but also by pain, the question that remains is whether they will be able to overcome their limits and heal their wounds. Maria, in her quest to find balance and happiness, is on the verge of discovering the power that lies in independence and self-confidence, while Alexandra must face the demons of jealousy and control to become a better partner. With hearts still connected but souls tested by challenges, their story continues to evolve, keeping alive the hope that true love can be reborn, but only when backed by respect and real change. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like if you enjoyed this video, and leave a comment with your thoughts. I love reading them all. See you next time, and until then, I love you.